Yeah, it's time for the French Press Review now. Florence Villeminot with us here in the studio, and a lot of the French press focus on the tragic massacre in Norway, of course.
Absolutely. We're going to start by looking at Libération, which headlines Itinerary of a Killer. Now, inside they have an article called The Confession of a Crusader, and they try to take a closer look at who exactly is this Anders Breivik, and how did he become who he is, this monster, as he even called himself. Now, according to the article, the country's in shock how this unknown man without a criminal record went on such a crazy killing rampage. Now, according to his lawyer, the 32-year-old wanted to change society. He said that he believed that the Norwegian society needed to go through a revolution. And even if he hasn't told police exactly what his motives were, you can get kind of clues in this document that he posted online the day of the massacres. It's called 2083, a European Declaration of Independence. Now, there are about 1,500 pages. It's somewhere between a manifesto and a diary, a personal diary, and he outlines just how much he hates multiculturalism and how he plans on attacking his country. Now, it was a 9-year master plan that he posted here online. And Breivik, in this article, we find out that he had this double life where he used an agricultural business to cover the fact that he was buying explosives. There are other details emerged, including the fact that he took regular doses of steroids.
And Libération also taking a bit of a look at the rise of the far right across Scandinavia.
Absolutely. It's an article called The Extremist Flame in Scandinavia. It starts by looking at the situation in Norway. Now, the extreme right party is called the Norwegian Progress Party, and it admits that Anders Breivik was a card-carrying member until 2007. Now, he left the party because he was disappointed that its leaders weren't doing enough to fight this multiculturalism that I've already outlined that he hated so much. Now, the party was created in 1977, and it's really gained a lot of ground in the last 10 years. And in 2009, it became the second largest political party in Norway. Now, it's based largely on populist politics, promoting born and bred Norwegians, and it has a tough stance on immigration, and is often spoken out against what it sees as an Islamization of the country. And this far-right parties are also gaining ground in neighboring countries. For instance, in Denmark, the People's Party is part of the ruling coalition. Similarly, in Sweden, the far-right party won a lot of seats in parliament, and the same scenario in Finland.
And many of the French papers also kind of looking at where the rise in the far right is actually coming from in the first place.
Yes, there's an interesting editorial in Le Figaro, which says from Bin Laden to Anders Breivik, and it comes back on this idea that Breivik said he was on a crusade to fight against what he called the colonization of Europe by Islam and multiculturalism. And the article wonders if this extreme right terrorism is a real threat for Europe, and it wonders if how could he have planned this attack for years without going noticed, and it wonders whether European authorities were focused too much on Islamist terrorism. And it says that what's interesting to note is these attacks that he carried out bear all the traits of extreme Islamist terrorism. And it says that 10 years after 9/11 and a year after Osama bin Laden's death, his legacy is being carried on by extreme right parties, which are the mirror image of Islamist terrorism.
Okay, a couple of other subjects in the papers. No doubt, of course, the French press also talking about Dominique Strauss-Kahn.
Absolutely. Now, this is in Newsweek. Actually, it's been taken up in the French press, but it's because of this exclusive interview given by the chambermaid that accused Dominique Strauss-Kahn of sexual assault in Newsweek. Now, it's interesting to note that here on the English side of France 24, we haven't been saying her name,
sure.
Whereas our French colleagues have.
Yeah.
So I spoke to some of our journalists, and we decided that since in Newsweek we've been saying her name in Newsweek, we're going to come out and say what her name is here. So Nafissatou Diallo breaks the silence, according to Newsweek. Now, this has been taken up in a lot of the French press, including Figaro. So this was her first interview since the scandal broke out 2 months ago. Now, she claims that she's determined to see the former IMF chief sentenced. She says that people are calling her a prostitute because of him. She says that she wants to see him go to jail and be in a place where he can't rely on money and power. Now, according to Le Figaro, she might be playing her last card because it emerged that she'd been lying to investigators since the very beginning. And according to Dominique Strauss-Kahn's legal team, she's just trying to win public support.
Okay, and the last story you're going to cover something which has been all over the news all weekend, of course, the death of Amy Winehouse. So many nasty stories at the moment, really, and the French press talk about it quite a lot as well.
Absolutely. Now, she was a big star here in France, and Libération has a nice. They come back on her stellar and very short career with a lot of admiration for her. They compare her voice to the great jazz and soul divas like Sarah Vaughan and Aretha Franklin. But they also, of course, come back on her troubled years struggling with drug addiction and alcoholism. Now, according to the article, she became somewhat of a circus freak and was unable to perform and canceled a lot of shows, including here in Paris in 2007. And it's interesting to note that Libération interviewed Amy Winehouse back in 2007 when she came out with her Grammy Award-winning album Back to Black. And at the time, she said that she wasn't a very bright girl. She just was a musician, loved music, and actually that she wanted to become a housewife and a mother.
Excellent. A bit of impromptu music there from the Sound Gallery. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. All right, Florence, well done. That was Florence Villeneuve with a look at the French papers. She'll be back a little bit later on with the international papers here on France 24. Stay with us.